guys, so I am back today with another tutorial. This one was requested after I did a page in the Dark Fantasy special of Colouring Heaven by Enys Guerrero. I did the Belle page and people were really interested in how I did this misty, cloudy night background. So I've been practicing. Here's what I did earlier. And I'm going to show you how I got this effect. I was inspired directly by Enys's painting. So this is basically me trying to copy the painting, but in coloured pencil. So, let's move that out of the way. I will keep it close by for reference. So I did a quick one, just to remind myself how I did it, because it was a little while ago when I did that page. And I've got a little sketch, rough sketch drawn out, so I know what I'm doing, where everything's going to go. Okay, so I'm mainly going to be using Luminance and a few Prismacolor. So it is a combination. We're going to start with Paynes Gray 60%. So quite a dark colour we're going to start with. And what I'm going to do, it's going to look really strange at first, so you're going to have to bear with me. But I'm going to be sketching in these clouds. So I'm doing this lightly, just in this pencil, just to give me some guidelines. And these shapes are totally random. I've got my references, so I've got both colourings near me. But these are clouds. They have totally random shapes, so don't worry about it. Okay, like I said, it looks crazy. But I've still got the Paynes Gray 60%. This is a background that takes time, because the original background, I think, was probably done in watercolour or very light washes of acrylic. And to get the same effect, or a very similar effect in pencil, obviously that's going to take layers. So that's what I'm blocking in right now. And anybody who's got perhaps a little bit of art experience will be able to see exactly what I'm doing. They'll know that, albeit this looks crazy at the moment, it is going to work. I did think of drawing these in first, actually, but I thought I'd show you on the video, just so you can see my method, and so you could see how messy it is. It's not neat whatsoever. Okay. So, next up we have the full Paynes Gray. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick out on the bottom of the clouds where I want the most shadow. If you've looked at clouds, even on a nice sunny day, you'll see that they'll have shadow at the bases. I'm also shadowing the edge as well. I've drawn it like this because this is what the actual page looked like. Obviously, your moon might be in the middle, it might be on the other edge. It doesn't matter. This is just how it looked on my page. I didn't want too large an area to colour. You'll notice I'm making these very little sort of small strokes. And the reason I'm doing that is to get this sort of fluffy edge. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the camera down a little for you so you can start to see the strokes I'm making a bit better. I'm working in quite circular motions as well. Again, to get that soft edge for these clouds, which is going to be quite important for blending them into one another. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to come back with the 60% to blend that a bit. When I was doing the actual colouring page of Belle, I thought I was pretty crazy when I didn't realise how long it was going to take me to do that all pencil background. It was pretty ambitious, and I certainly felt crazy by the end of it. I'm not going to use too much of the Paynes Gray around here. We're going to be getting different shapes, depending on how much or how little we use. And so that is sort of the slight warning of this particular technique, is it does take time. I wouldn't recommend doing it all pencil in a really large area. I think it works okay for a sort of regular size colouring page. It would certainly work even better for a smaller one. Okay. So next up is Paynes Gray 30%. The reason I use the free Luminance Paynes Grays is they're meant to blend into one another. So you get really smooth blends. And because it's such a lovely waxy pencil, I mean, you can already see how well this is blending together. Just look at the change there's been from that initial scratchy sort of lines that I'd put down. And that's why it's very paramount to make these lines when you're sketching out. Why it's paramount to make them light. It's so that you can cover them in later stages. Okay, down here now I'm going to be leaving a white edge. Because the moon is here, the moon is pretty paramount to the effect we're going to get. Because the moon is casting light, which means that some of these clouds are going to have quite light edges at the top, not at the bottom, but at the top they're going to have the light of the moon on them. Right, now I'm also going to block in a little bit of this sort of a rim, a halo around the moon, because it is glowing. So I'm lightening my pressure as I get closer to the moon. And here I'm not so bothered because I'm still making some shapes there. Okay. So there are some Prismacolors. I have 50% cool grey right here. Reason I'm using Prismacolor as well as Luminance is they blend really well and they've got slightly different greys. It's more of a blender than anything. It's slightly lighter than the 60% Paynes Gray. Okay, can you see the cloud shapes now starting to form? That's what we want. Back in with 60% cool grey. Again, these very random shapes I'm making, they're all based on my colouring page. I'm just using that as reference. So I think I would recommend getting some reference photos of a cloudy night to actually look at when you're doing this. Not to necessarily copy, you don't have to copy it, but just to give you an idea of some of the shapes the clouds make. It can be really, really helpful. Right, our darkest colour, black. I'm using the light fast black, but you can use Prismacolor, Luminance, really doesn't matter. Okay, so it's night. This is a night sky, so some of these clouds are going to have really deep shadows. Particularly around this edge. And by creating these different areas of darkness, you're adding to the layers of the clouds. The clouds are going to look different to the eye. It's going to make them look as if some are in front of each other, some are behind. Paynes Gray again, just to blend that black out. You're creating an illusion of depth with all these different colours. Okay, I'm going to create another shape down here. But can you see I'm still leaving that white bit above the cloud? I'm going to connect it up here. And now I'm going to put out another Prismacolor, 20% cool grey. The Luminance don't have a ton of really pale greys, so that's why I'm picking out the Prismacolor. And you'll notice I'm pushing all the colours together. I don't mind what colours they're picking up. I want them to look mixed. does get a bit dusty because you're using so many pencil layers. So you do need to clean off the page now and again. Back with the Paynes Gray 30%. I'm going to fill in this over here. The whole point is you would continue your shapes as you went across the page. And the thing to remember is, as you get further away from the moon, so over here, for instance, you would be using all the Paynes Grays and the probably 50% Cool Grip Prismacolor and the black, but you wouldn't be using really the light greys. If I bring back this page again, you can see over here is all the pale greys where the moon is really illuminating them. And there is some pale, but you can see it gets much darker over here. So that's how you would create the effect of the glowing moon here, but still night sky. And you can see that the clouds sort of go in diagonals. That's quite common with clouds. Again, reference photos will be a big help there. Okay, and Posca white. Again, you can use Prismacolor or Luminance. I prefer Prismacolor, it's slightly creamier. And that's to blend out those highlighted sections. And you want harsh lines between the highlights and the shadowed areas. Again, to create that illusion of depth, of differences between the clouds and where the clouds are. So another reason I've got the light Prismacolors out as well, I've got 20% Cool Grey again, is because obviously the moon needs some definition of those craters. Oh, I'm going totally random here. I'm just creating some random shading. I've never gone for a realistic moon, so. And you don't have to, as long as you just use a little bit of shading. Back with the 50% Cool Grey. I'm using quite a light touch here because I don't want the greys too dark, because I want the moon to look like it's illuminated. You can also deepen the clouds to make sure. I want the moon to look illuminated and to make sure it doesn't look too much like the clouds. Now I've got 10% Cool Grey, and that's to blend this all together. Other things you could do to make sure it didn't look too similar is you could add a little bit of yellow to the moon, sort of perhaps a bronzish colour. You can also add perhaps a little bit of blue even to the cloud highlights. That's another option. Back with white, blend that out further. You can also see I'm only doing part of the moon. Haven't done the whole thing, and I'll sort of show you why I didn't bother in the original in a moment to do the whole thing. Just got the 50% back again, just to create some more depth. I think that looks good. Okay, Magic Posca. Shake, shake, shake. So So obviously you'll probably likely have lines in your colouring book or page. So take out your Posca, and wherever the lines are still visible, just go over them. Probably need to do it more than once to get it really hidden. You can also dot some on the clouds. I like to dab it off so it's not too harsh. You also get some interesting shapes if you do that. And then Posca number 2 is a black one. The 1MR or what 1M, whichever. And now we're going to create some branches. I know you're probably thinking, what are you doing? Go all over everything you've just coloured. Yes, I am. Again, you can look at reference photos if you want to make your branches realistic. And the reason I'm using a Posca is because I've put down so many layers, the paper now is really waxy, and that will absolutely destroy your fine tips. So Posca, because it's a paint, it goes over that, no problem. So that's a trick to save your fine tips. You can make them as far reaching as you want. I think I'll add another little one down here. And that is it. That's how I did it. It's very simple. It just takes time. You've just got to be random with it. Do your layers. Look at some references and just give it a try. It's a really nice effect if you want a moody nighttime scene, especially good probably for something like Halloween pages. And I hope that was useful as a background idea. So I will see you in the next tutorial, and please remember to give the video a thumbs up.